It's the mayor of Slamtown, WWE superstar John Morrison, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
When they're not covering the sports world, they're talking about the world of professional wrestling.
It's Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Now, here's Stu Myrick.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling, special weekend edition. Stu Myrick here, flying solo. We figured since the radio show actually we weren't on the horn this week, but we were podcast only. Since then, a lot of stuff has happened because of the COVID-19 coronavirus, the novel coronavirus, and a lot of it affecting all the sports world. I mean, in the New York Post, their headline the other day, "The day the sports world stopped," and boy, has it been. And it is starting to affect professional wrestling. And to help me discuss all that, man I trust, love him to death. He is the leader of the Busted Open Nation. You hear him every day on SiriusXM Fight Nation, 9 a.m. to noon Eastern, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central on Busted Open. He is the host, the only man that could corral Tommy Dreamer, Bully Ray, and our own Mark Henry. He is Dave LaGreca. Hello, Dave.
Hello, Stu. How are you? How you holding up?
I'm fine. It's been a crazy few days though, hasn't it?
Yeah, I would say really it hit home on Wednesday was the day that it really hit home for me. Obviously, it's been the underlying theme for longer than that, but Wednesday is when it really hit home. And like you said, this week is when the sports world stopped, and that's certainly the case. Big difference between you and I talking now and then the last time we talked, that's for sure.
Well, that's true. I mean, we were kind of looking forward to what the WrestleMania season was going to look like, and everything. And now, and I guess that's probably where we should start. Now we're not even sure there's going to be a WrestleMania. The last we heard, Mark Remondy from ESPN posted a story last night on ESPN.com that basically says Hillsborough County, where Tampa, Florida is located, the Hillsborough County authorities have basically said, look, we're going to let WWE make the decision, but if they don't make the decision by this coming week, we're going to have to make the decision for them, and it's likely going to be we're going to pull the plug. I know you saw that, so you've heard this. You heard this talk about around. I mean, can you fathom no WrestleMania this coming April 5th?
Yeah, I don't think there will be. I mean, I can almost guarantee there won't be, because I think what they're doing is they're leaving it in the court. They're leaving the ball in the WWE's court, saying, "Hey, we're going to want you to make the decision." And Vince McMahon, Stu, he's not one to bow down to anything, and that's some people see it as a negative, some people see it as a positive, but he's just not that type of person, and they're going to have to force him to cancel. I can't see Vince McMahon throwing his hands up and saying, "You know what, we're going to cancel this." I think he's going to wait until the decision is made for him.
Well, and that's kind of, there's a kind of a two-pronged attack there. First of all, like you said, Vince isn't going to isn't going to pull the plug. I think he wants it to, he wants the appearance that, look, we wanted to go forward, but City of Tampa, Hillsborough County, they said we have to cancel. They canceled it for us. So that way, it almost like it puts the blame on the City of Tampa and Hillsborough County. Now, I know I believe there's also some provisions that if the city or county cancel it, then it gives WWE some relief as far as issuing refunds and that type of thing. What have you heard about that?
No, I haven't heard anything of that. I mean, the things that I have heard, I don't want to repeat because they're rumors and there's nothing that's a fact. But I also think they're probably just biding their time as well, because it gives them more time to decide what they're going to do. Will they postpone it? Will they cancel it altogether? Will they try to do this later? And if they do, how does that affect their other shows and their other pay-per-views? This isn't unlike any other sport. Like this is all storyline driven. So if, let's just say they postpone it until July, does that mean that they cancel SummerSlam because SummerSlam's the next month? There really is a trickle-down effect when it comes to what's going to be taking place or not taking place at the beginning of April.
Well, and that was the notion that a lot of people were hoping they would do with like the NCAA with basketball tournaments. Can we see if we can push them out? NBA that they've suspended their season. Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, said, we're going to probably be shut down for at least 30 days. And but he's still holding out hope that they can at least resume the season, maybe go straight in the playoffs, whatever. But like you said, WWE, it's a little different because you've got these storylines that you've been building, and besides the whole Saudi Arabia interruption, just for the sake of having a Saudi Arabia show because they're getting a lot of money about it. But if that does happen, where they have to postpone till say July or maybe or even later, how do you see these storylines getting affected? Because you still got Goldberg as the Universal Champion. You've still got Brock Lesnar, the WWE Champion. They've promised these big matches, and a lot of people suspect that we will see at least one of those titles change hands at WrestleMania. So I'm sure they have thought of how do we carry these storylines forward if we have to push WrestleMania out.
I know, and it's a really tough call. I know you watched SmackDown Friday night where they had it at the Performance Center in front of no fans. They did that show as if WrestleMania is going to take place. They had another chapter in the story with Bray Wyatt and the Fiend. Even here in New Jersey, they were still running commercials for a show that's already been canceled, which is the house show at Madison Square Garden on March 22nd. Every commercial break, they ran a commercial for that show at the Garden, and it's obviously not taking place because that's a week away. But Stu, I don't know. This is so uncharted territory when it comes to us. Do you continue with those storylines and then completely change the card for WrestleMania? I mean, there are some things that you could avoid. Rhea Ripley and Charlotte, you can avoid that because Rhea Ripley wrestles on NXT and Charlotte doesn't. So you could avoid that matchup. With Drew McIntyre and Brock Lesnar, could Brock Lesnar continue to defend the title like he did against Ricochet in Saudi Arabia? I guess you could do that and still make sure that Drew McIntyre has his WrestleMania shot. There's certain stories I think you could continue. Edge and Orton, they could continue that story. Just leave Edge off of TV for the next couple of months, and then you could pick that story back up. When the summer starts. It's so crazy when you think about it, Stu, because there is no right answer because we've never had this happen before.
You're absolutely right. You ask any historian, the closest we ever had to this was probably 9/11, and that was ironically SmackDown. Put their show on 2 days later it was called the Compaq Center at that time, now the Toyota Center in Houston. But we've never had the prospect of everything getting shut down for an extended period of time. We've seen, like you mentioned, SmackDown in front of no fans at the Performance Center. We're going to see Monday Night Raw this coming Monday night from there. Looks like NXT is going to be there for a while because Full Sail University has basically, canceled all mass gatherings. So looks like NXT is going to be at the Performance Center for at least the next few weeks. It is, like you said, uncharted territory. Let's put on. And then you look at WrestleMania and look at that weekend. We saw the story from David Bixelspan from Vice about the independent shows. I mean, we know that I think OTT out of Ireland, they've already canceled because they can't travel because of the travel ban put in by the president. You've got a couple other shows I think they've already canceled, but several others, they can't make a decision because they're waiting on WWE to make that decision. How big an effect is this going to have on those independent shows like GCW, The Collective, WrestleCon, all these different independent shows?
Oh, it's going to be devastating. Like you mentioned, WrestleCon, this is their big event of the year. I mean, this is going to be devastating for them. Now, if it's postponed for a few months, but can you do that? Because then if you get closer and closer to September, Stu, then that's the start of the NFL season. So could you have an event like WrestleMania when football season is about to start. No, because as you know, they have that stadium for the whole week to prepare for WrestleMania taking place. I mean, I guess the only thing is if we see something break with the coronavirus over the next month, maybe you can possibly have it in July. That's a possibility, but I really don't know. I mean, could you cancel it altogether? Could you not have a WrestleMania at all because you have other events as well? You know, how long can you postpone it for? I really, really don't know.
Yeah. And then,
but knowing the WWE, they'll find a way to make this bigger and better than ever because they always find a way to take a negative and make it into a positive. So, you know, maybe do you roll the two events like WrestleMania into SummerSlam into one big, huge event? I mean, maybe that's a possibility if you were to do it in the summertime. I really don't know.
Here's a theory that has been floated around and kind of you know tails on what you just said. Take WrestleMania and SummerSlam, turn it into one huge event, and then do it over 2 nights, kind of like what Wrestle Kingdom did. Now, I talked to the Guerrillas of Destiny in Miami when we were there for Super Bowl. They thought that the 2-night Wrestle Kingdom lost a little bit of its magic, a little bit of its luster. And I get the feeling that WrestleMania, as long as it is, I get the feeling it would do the same thing. What say you?
Yeah, because I think you saw it with Wrestle Kingdom. There was a big drop-off from night number 2 and night number 1, not from quality of matches, but just attendance. You know, I think there was probably close to 10,000 less fans for night number 2 than there was for night number 1. And knowing still, like we do, especially last year's WrestleMania when it was 7.5 hours long. I mean, do you cut down the time? Do you make it a 3.5-hour show or a 4-hour show night number 1 and a 4-hour show night number 2? I guess you could do that, but I mean, if I wouldn't do that, I would just, if you were going to have it late in the summer, I would probably cancel SummerSlam. You could get away with doing that. But WrestleMania is an event I think for the WWE you just can't cancel. And if you could postpone it, then all those indie shows can do the same. Maybe they could postpone it and have it 2 or 3 months later than what they're going to have right now. But who knows? But Stu, this is such a huge question mark because we don't know when this is going to break. You would hope that once the warmer weather is coming and the summer starts, that this is a possibility. But we really don't know how long this is going to be for.
No, we don't. Talking with Dave LaGreca from SiriusXM Busted Open here on Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. One of the things you talked about was, you know, if it's postponed, where do you have it? Can you still do it at Raymond James Stadium? Or, you know, my guess would be that if it does get postponed till July or August, you've got these stadiums, even if it's before the start of the NFL season, you got preseason starting pretty soon.
Yep.
You know, so do you move it back to an arena like it was back in the day? Do you go to whether it's Amelia Arena in Tampa or heaven forbid go to another city? Maybe go to the arena where what's the arena in Orlando?
Oh, where they had WrestleMania 33.
Right. Yeah. No, not well.
Camping World Stadium?
I guess you could do Camping World because you're talking college football. Maybe I think that's where isn't that where Central Florida plays? No,
that's right. You're right. You probably couldn't do that either. You're right.
So you're probably going to have to move back to either a basketball, hockey arena. Could we see a baseball stadium? That'll be after the baseball. Well, no, they'll be in the middle of baseball. I mean, I guess their options are going to be pretty limited if they postpone it.
I think the only thing that is a slight possibility if they were able to postpone it to July, but anything after July, like you said, then you have preseason football. But at least with July, it's training camps. You could probably get away with it. But once you get past a certain time in July, like you said, then there's preseason football. Then you run into a major problem. So this is going to be really tough. Or maybe is that how you do the 2 nights? It's by it being in an arena. You have it in a 20,000 seat arena, and you have it over the course of 2 nights. It's really, really tough, Stu. I really don't know if there's an answer. I'm just hoping that once we get to May, then maybe we're looking at a more of a positive circumstances where things are going to start slowing down when it comes to the spread of this virus. But I mean, we're not even at that point yet. I mean, we're still early in this game. I mean, for us, you look at other countries like Italy and what they're going through right now. I don't even know if this is the worst of it or the worst is yet to come.
That's true. That's very true. Let's talk about SmackDown last night. Watch SmackDown, like you said, from the Performance Center, no fans. It was interesting. Now, it bugged me that Michael Cole kept saying the first time this has ever happened when they had the Rock Mankind empty arena match, halftime heat during the Super Bowl back in '99. But I guess this will be the first time they've ever had a full event in front of no fans. What do you think of SmackDown being done in the Performance Center with nothing but empty chairs?
It was so surreal. Like, I was really looking forward to it because I'm sure everyone that's listening went through the same thing. It's been such a horrible last few days and just like really just a lot of, scary scenarios. So it was nice to be able to sit down and watch some wrestling. But then when you watch the show, it was so surreal to see just the empty seats. And then you really felt the effects of what was going on. I thought Cole and Triple H did a fantastic job. Obviously, everyone who worked did a great job, but just seeing those empty seats, it was scary. Like, is this what we're going to see in the near future? If there are going to be events, is all these events going to be in front of no fans? Like, what does the future hold for a lot of what we see with wrestling? Like now with AEW, it was very, very surreal.
It was. I will say this: if this is going to happen, we need more of Triple H, because I tell you what, last night reminded everybody how he has such great comedic timing. I mean, it reminded you of his days back with DX, back when they were doing all the funny stuff. But even last night, I mean, I was laughing out loud at some of the stuff he was saying. I mean, he made the reference to, only man to get busier and get a demotion. That kind of surprised me a little bit. But I mean, Triple H, let's just, if we're going to do these empty arena shows, let's at least put Triple H on commentary pretty much every night. How about that? I like that idea.
Yeah. I loved it. It kind of reminded me of, like, we did, Busted Open live on Friday. It was myself and Mark and Tommy Dreamer. And, I would say that more than half the show was just us, like, kind of joking with the nation and trying to make it feel a little light, just to get people in a good mood. Because, we know what everyone's going through and we're feeling it too. And I think that's what Triple H's attitude was last night. He's like, let's just keep this light. Let's have some fun. He's taking the Sharpie to Michael Cole's little goatee that he had on his chin. And the way he was talking about, like, why is Bailey grabbing a microphone when, there's nobody here? Like, it's just that he was so funny last night. I think that was what was really good about the show, is that he kept it so light.
He really did. I tell you what, if they try to put a Sharpie to my goatee, they may run out of ink. Talking with Dave LaGreca.
Mine too.
Talking with Dave LaGreca from SiriusXM Busted Open. We mentioned AEW, and we know that at least the next 2-3 weeks they're going to do it in Daly's Place down in Jacksonville near TIAA Bank Field, the home of the Jaguars. Looks like those are going to be empty arena matches as well, which is kind of disheartening because they're leading up to the Blood and Guts match on March 25th. I mean, we got a glimpse of what SmackDown looks like, and likely what Raw is going to look like. You wonder what AEW is going to look like with no fans or essential personnel or whatever. Could they? I mean, my thought was AEW could at least put, I don't know if it's staffers or somebody in the stands just to give some sort of a sound or reaction. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. We're seeing from businesses here where a lot of businesses aren't open. They're not letting their employees. So I don't even know what that situation would be there if they would be able to do that. It's just so weird, Stu, because Wednesday night, just like you, I watched NXT in front of a full crowd, at the Performance Center, watching AEW in front of a huge crowd in Salt Lake. And then here we are last night, 2 nights later, seeing an empty arena with SmackDown. It's crazy. And I mean, I think just for safety purposes and because you're so limited about it, how many people could be at one place, I don't think they have a choice but to do it in an empty venue.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's hard to imagine that the year 2020 started off with a lot of fun in wrestling, and now here we are. We're not sure if events are going to happen, what they're going to look like. We're seeing independent events. I know there was, for instance, I know some friends that are promoters up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They were supposed to have some events tonight. Those have been canceled. I'm going, amazingly enough, there's an event here in Austin, our local wrestling school, America's Academy of Pro Wrestling. They're going to do a show. It's a small show. There might be 50 or 100 people there, but they're going to go on and at least showcase some of their students. So I'm going to go over there and support them here later tonight. But, yeah, it's surreal. Like I said, like you said, we've never experienced anything like this, not just in pro wrestling, but in sports, in entertainment. It's like the entire world is shutting down. And I got to imagine it's, your callers, I'm sure, have been kind of voicing their concerns, and hopefully they're keeping a positive view of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all you can do is just be positive and be smart and be safe. I think those are the 3 things. Not to panic, and I'm sure you're dealing with that too in your area where people are panicking. They're loading up like as if we're going to be bunkered in for a month. I mean, just be smart, know the facts, and be safe. And I think the best thing right now is to not be in front of a large group of people.
Yeah.
There is a ban, in this area where I am, no more than 250 people. And I think that's smart because we really don't know what we're dealing with. And I'm just hoping that, when you and I are talking a month from now, that it's going to be a completely different situation. And, because we had Busted Open, as you know, Stu, we had big plans for WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
I always look forward to our party the day before WrestleMania, and I was really looking forward to that. And then, everything you work for and everything you plan for, it just completely shattered. And it's kind of weird for me because for the next 2 weeks, I'm doing at least the next 2 weeks. I'm doing a show from home. I'm not even going to be doing it in the studio. I'm going to be doing it from my home. So it's just very, very strange and surreal.
It is. We've made the same contingency plans here at the Horn with, setting up, making sure we have home studios available, and of course us with our commitment to the University of Texas. Well, we've got no Longhorn sports going because everything's been canceled. We've got no sports at all. So, we're trying to come up with, okay, what are we going to talk about? What's this? What are we looking at here? So it's been it's been an interesting few days, and it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks. And like you said, I hope when we'll get back together here in about a month or so, hopefully things will be somewhat back to normal. But until then, we'll keep in touch. He is Dave LaGreca from SiriusXM Busted Open. Hear him weekdays, 9 a.m. to noon Eastern, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central, SiriusXM Fight Nation. Dave, all the best to you, man. Give my love to the rest of the Busted Open crew, and we'll talk again soon, my friend.
Thanks, Stu. I appreciate it, and I can't wait the next time you have me on that we're just talking about the matches.
You could hear it in David's voice. We all of us that are in media, wrestling media, sports media. It's so we've said it so many times, but it's so true. We are truly in uncharted territory. This hasn't happened in pro wrestling, in sports. I mean, you've got practically every sports league in the world, from NBA, NHL, Major League Soccer, most of the European soccer leagues, NASCAR, Formula One, IndyCar, PGA, they've all either canceled, postponed, or suspended seasons, games. I feel for the people that work, say, with ESPN and Fox Sports and Alex Dobario, our good friend that calls basketball for CBS Sports Network. His season ended early because no basketball games to call. It's a weird time, and we'll see what happens over the next week or two. I feel for a lot of independent promoters that if some of those events may not be able to be held because of restrictions by cities and counties on mass gatherings, whether it's 250 or more, 500 or more. It kind of just depends on the laws and the rules and laws in that local jurisdiction. So all we can do is wait and hope, and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to take a quick timeout. When we come back, Cary Silkin, our good friend from Ring of Honor, is going to join me. They were supposed to have their pay-per-view this weekend, plus they had the Past versus Present event. Those got canceled. We're going to talk to him about that. Maybe celebrate a little bit 18 years of Ring of Honor wrestling. That's coming up next on Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
This is the voice of Ring of Honor, Ian Riccaboni, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling special weekend edition. Stu Myrick flying solo, as we said. The COVID-19 coronavirus affecting the sports world, the pro wrestling world. That includes Ring of Honor Wrestling. They were supposed to have their 18th anniversary pay-per-view and Past versus Present events in Las Vegas. Those, unfortunately, had to be canceled because of the health concerns. Joining us now to just talk through this and help celebrate 18 years of Ring of Honor on the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina Hotline, our dear friend, the ambassador of Ring of Honor, former owner of Ring of Honor, our good friend, Cary Silkin. Cary, how are you, sir?
I'm all right, Stu. I probably like everyone else. We're all a little shaken up. I'll speak for myself. I don't want to get into politics, but I don't know what's really. I don't think anyone knows what's really happening. And I'm not trying to minimize it. If I wanted to minimize it, I would have stayed in Las Vegas. But I was on a plane leaving Newark, New Jersey, Wednesday at approximately 4:30 p.m. The prior night, Tuesday, I didn't go to a show. They had an Allman Brothers tribute at Madison Square Garden for their 50th anniversary. Well, that show went on. My friends were there. I'd sold some tickets, 50, whatever. There was 15,000 people. Broadway was still running. Pro Sports was still running. And I got on my plane, and so did all the other Ring of Honor guys at various times. I was one of the earlier ones there. Anyway, because you travel enough, sometimes on the plane there's so-so internet. They claim it's internet, but, it works a little. Maybe some airlines are better. But on United, it's so-so. Be that as it may, along the way, I see on some kind of social media platform that the NBA games have been postponed, canceled. I forget the word they used. Then I saw something about Tom Hanks. I thought it wasn't real. And by the time the plane landed and I was at beautiful Sam's Town having a nice dinner with Bully Ray, which was nice. He was out there early. And the NHL had canceled. And I got the word the next morning that Broadway, the motto, the show must go on. But so there we were. There was the road crew, the tech guys, Thursday morning, and it was obvious. It would, we just could not do it. It would be irresponsible, and we are not irresponsible. So we hated to disappoint the fans, so on and so forth, but we couldn't do it. So instead of staying there, some of these guys are still out there, Stu, but they're half our age. And I said, they're like, oh, well, Cary, at least if we're stuck, this is a great place. Well, been there, done that. And I stayed for, through Thursday. So I had a whopping 28 hours, and I'm back home.
Yeah.
And how are you?
I'm doing okay. It's like you said, it's just surreal. We're with the flagship station for the University of Texas. So of course we're kind of reeling because we're in the midst of Big 12 basketball tournament and Longhorn baseball and softball and now nothing, no sports. All the pro sports, practically every pro sports league has shut down. You postponed, suspended seasons, whatever. So getting the word, and it was kind of eerie because we had talked to Mark Haskins about his title shot coming up, and we were talking to him on this week and on this week's show, and I know how excited he was for that, and not to mention the match he had at the past versus present event, and then to have this happen, he was flying in from the UK, and I felt bad because of course we got this travel ban on basically anybody coming from Europe can't come to the U.S. I mean, it's just nuts and it's crazy, and like you said, I mean, I suspect that you said the wrestlers were disappointed, obviously, but I got to believe they understood, but
yes.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking because that's what you do. You want to wrestle in front of the fans.
Yes, everybody was naturally, these guys are disappointed, and but everyone understood. And the scary part is no one knows what's going to happen, and I know this is primarily it is a pro wrestling show. It's sports guys, but nobody knows what's going to happen in pro sports. Have any of these college or I know the NCAA was talking about doing their games in front of empty arenas, and my question to you, since you have a much better handle on the real pro sports world, is anyone? Well, I know pro sports is done, but is any college or any leagues doing the games with empty houses?
As far the NCAA has basically suspended all the winter and spring championships. I think every conference has said we're not playing anything. I know the University of Texas has suspended all seasons. We were looking at, for instance, we're getting ready for spring football practice and the spring game, and looking at what the Longhorns would look like under. They've done this big coaching change with a lot of the assistants and the coordinators. Now we won't get to see that, and I know most major college sports are, for all intents and purposes, done. They at least for spring and summer, nothing. So and like you said, all the pro sports, European soccer leagues are done. Racing, Formula One, NASCAR, IndyCar have postponed their season starts for at least the next 3 weeks. There is, for a sports radio station, we basically got NFL free agency, and that's it.
Right. I mean, let's be honest. It's just like with me, with my, everybody that knows me, or if you don't know me, I'm going to tell you now that my primary business has been a ticket broker, a ticket hustler for many, many years. And I was talking, who was that? I was talking to Mike Johnson earlier, Pro Wrestling, our good friend. And I
PW
said,
Insider, good
we're
friend,
sort of out of, I'm out of business. I said, at least, for now, it's okay. I'm all right, but I'm saying for now I'm out of business. Nobody is saying, oh, let me get some Hamilton or Lion King or tickets or Elton John tickets because the show is in August. They're just waiting, so I'm out of business, and it's not a money thing that I'm complaining about. It's just a lack of activity thing. And I'm sure you're in the same boat.
Yeah.
As with You cover sports.
Yes.
What the hell are you going to cover?
That's what a lot of us were talking about. Like, for instance, we had the PGA, the Dell Technologies Match Play Tournament that was supposed to happen in 2 weeks here in Austin. One of my favorite events to cover. That's gone. MotoGP, the premier motorcycle racing circuit, comes to the Circuit of the Americas here in Austin. That's gone. The IndyCar race is postponed. It's like you said, a Longhorn Sports course. You got even Major League Baseball has delayed the start of their season. That also means minor league baseball, which we have the Round Rock Express here, the AAA affiliate of the Astros. That means we don't get a season opener for at least the near future. It's just, it's weird because we now have a lot of downtime, a lot of people that we know that cover sports and entertainment. And you mentioned Broadway. The fact that Broadway has to shut down, it's hard to imagine. And
I'll put it into I'll tie a bow around it or some kind of thing. The worst event in my lifetime, and possibly yours, was 9/11.
Absolutely.
And so if most of your listeners are unless they're a teenager, whatever, but they've heard enough about it. That was the worst day ever for on so many levels for so many reasons. But where I was going with this was New York City. 3 days, I think it was 3, wasn't 2. 3 days after the Broadway shows reopened. I remember back at the time. It didn't mean that people were rushing out and buying tickets. At the time, the big show was The Producers with Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick on Broadway. And they reopened, the various shows reopened. And that was also the year, if you remember, that the Yankees, I'm going to forget their opponents, but the Yankees in 2001 went to the World Series.
Yes.
And won. And I attended some of those games, and even with that show being as popular as it was, and Yankees and tickets, it took like between 6 weeks to 12 weeks till things start churning again. And I'm not talking about just on a ticket end. I spoke to ticket brokers that were in Austin, Texas, in Dallas, in Seattle. It's the people weren't going out. So I figured in my lifetime, this is about the worst thing I'm going to see. And once again, it wasn't just about the money. It was just about what the hell's going on. And now to have this, it's just crazy. Usually I'm not speechless, but
right. No, it is. And the sad, unlike 9/11, we don't know when this is going to end. We don't know what's going to happen if the warmer weather, mitigates the virus, or if they find a treatment or whatever, but we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen in the next week or two. And you think about, companies like Ring of Honor, Impact, and AEW, and even WWE, and everybody, they're just kind of, we don't know what to do. I mean, because we've never had something like this. I've got to imagine, now, has there been any talk, and I don't know if you have heard anything, but has there been any talk of Ring of Honor at least putting on doing some sort of a TV empty arena show, or is it? It
hasn't, not yet.
Okay.
I know that there's going to be an announcement Monday. Listen, I'm you know me. I'm a straight shooter, and I'm not here to bullshit anyone. We don't, and I also am not the Ring of Honor management. But in speaking to them, everybody is in shock.
Yes,
and they're working it out. So it's I feel like a bowling pins after someone just had a strike. Everyone's got to just regroup. Yeah. But there's going to be a plan. What is it? I don't know. Yeah. I got another thing. And once again, they're going to start thinking that Stu Myrick's podcast has become a conspiracy. No. I'm not gonna be political. But here's the thing, right? But here's the thing: if the government or the powers that be are, and for good reason, have banned these sporting events because they don't want large gatherings of people, have banned these pro wrestling events, have banned is not the right word, have curtailed it for the public safety.
Right.
Same with concerts,
yeah.
Same with Broadway, and whether it's a concert in Peoria, or I mean, I don't know. If Cheap Trick was playing in Boise, Idaho, is the show going to go on tonight? I don't know. I don't think so, though. But anyway,
I know. The iHeart Music, they do the iHeart Music Festival. It was supposed to be down at the Irwin Center here in Austin. I think that's been postponed.
What about South by Southwest? Too.
It's gone. Yeah, that was one of the first dominoes to fall. Was South by Southwest? They got canceled, and that's arguably the biggest event that Austin has.
Well, the point of what I was going to say is that if we're being told or advised about this, not having these large groups of people, including church or synagogue, or let alone trade shows. Where I'm going with this is, how long is it going to be until they close? Maybe for safety reasons, and I'm not trying to be an alarmist, did they close the airports? Because there's just a huge amount of people in the airports. If you don't want to have people getting together to see an Iron Maiden concert, how are you going to allow it? So it's just crazy, and I don't want that to happen.
No, of course not. And I mean, I've talked to some friends that have had to do some business travel this weekend. The way they sound, it sounds like the airports are just about shut down anyway, because they're basically ghost towns, right now. So,
well, on my way to Vegas Wednesday, I basically showed them my ID and went through with no line. And this is Newark Airport. There might have been a guy in front of me, and then went through the security. I said to the guy at security, I said, "This is an all-time record." When I was coming back Thursday night, Todd Sinclair and Ian Riccaboni dropped me off. They were nice enough to give me a ride. There was nobody. There were very few people. Yeah. And I think a lot of the people that were leaving Vegas were there because the same reason I left so fast.
Yeah.
Hey, if this virus thing wasn't going on, obviously I would have stayed. But part of me was a little scary. So, but here I got some good news. I've got some good news,
Cary.
All this. And, once again, as far as Ring of Honor, there'll be announcements coming next week. That I know. And we're going to try to bring our brand to the people in any, whatever we have to do. And that's not going to stop. As far as any definitive announcements, I don't have it. But here we got some other good news. The good news is that someone like you and even someone like me can continue doing our various forms of entertainment with the podcast and it not be affected. And so people have some distractions. I posted today, I've been doing this podcast, Last Stop Penn Station, with Ian Riccaboni.
Fantastic podcast, by the way. It's been so good to hear all those stories.
Thank you. And, it's pro wrestling mixed with my life as a ticket scalper and all kinds of crazy adventures. So, anyway, it comes out every Friday. You can get it on all the podcast platforms. But the point is, when I posted today the iTunes link, and I just said, we all need a distraction right now. And if you want to just have a little laugh, and it's not just my podcast, I've listened to, I've said before, if you want to hear this good wrestling weekly information, Sports Guys Talking Wrestling is where it's at. So we're able to put some content out. I've been sitting home I'll go out to a restaurant later, but I've been sitting home just watching some TV, watching some odd stuff that I normally wouldn't watch. Just saw a great documentary on Miles Davis, and I'm not even a fan, right? The jazz trumpeter. There's that show, American Masters. It's a PBS show. Anyway, so if we have to do things differently to entertain ourselves, listen to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling, listen to Last Stop Penn Station. Try to, what else can you say? Entertain yourself. And if you don't want to listen to our podcast, just try to enjoy something. It's a rough time right now.
Start watching. I talked to Dave LaGreca just now, and he was watching old World Class Wrestling videos from back in the early '80s with Bill Mercer as a ring announcer. Which, by the way, Bill Mercer is going into the Texas Sports Hall of Fame as part of the media wing. So, congratulations to Bill.
I hope they have the ceremony.
I hope they do too. It's scheduled for end of May up in Arlington, Texas. So let's hope it happens. Let's talk for a second. Because the reason for the pay-per-view. 18 years that Ring of Honor Wrestling has been in existence, and I know how proud you are of everything that Ring of Honor has accomplished over those 18 years. As I mentioned, I talked to Mark Haskins. He is so excited about what's to come in Ring of Honor over the next few months and the next year or so, as soon as we get back to having in-ring action. But just talk for a second about how proud you are and how excited you are for the future of Ring of Honor.
Well, first of all, it's just absolutely astounding to think that we have lasted. Ring of Honor has, been around for 18 years, and all the, various incarnations and the hurdles and just the people that have passed through. And last weekend, before this shutdown, only a week ago. It was a week ago. WWE ran in near my house in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and I went, and I was treated very well. Sanjay Dutt was another Ring of Honor alumni was part of the crew there backstage, and he knew I was coming, and I got to go back. I hadn't seen Kevin Steen in 3 or 4 years. I hadn't seen El Generico, Sami Zayn in a long time. And Seth Rollins, I'd seen him maybe a year ago. Same with Brian. But everyone was there. AJ. Then you had Gallows and Anderson were there. Then the War Raiders, the Viking Raiders, whatever they're called now. So it was right in front of me. Last Saturday was a representation of Ring of Honor from 2002 to, 2017?
Yeah,
when did the
absolutely. Right. Because, and War Machine they were tag champs, I know, at least through 17. And then they went, got the IWGP titles. So I know Ray and Hansen were very active. You mentioned, Sami Zayn, El Generico, Kevin Steen, now Kevin Owens, Gallows. You look at everybody. Tyler Black, now Seth Rollins. There's just, and I saw the pictures you posted on Instagram, some fantastic pictures, and it was so good to see them.
And there was even a guy who had like a one shot, and he's a well-known, you might not even know, MVP was there. He works backstage.
Oh, I love MVP.
And a great guy, and so I'm going off on a tangent here, but there's just so much history, and yet we still have we have a great product. We have a great crew. It's unfortunate, I can't speak. This thing is messed up. I can't, if it's like, I don't know how to phrase this, but like when this is over, whenever the hell it is, Ring of Honor is looking good. We have a great crew, with Roosh. We could name the names, Haskins, Tracy Williams, the Briscoes, and Jay Lethal, Dalton Castle and Joe Henry, and Jonathan Gresham, and Dragon Lee and Bandito and PCO, and the list goes on and on. I probably left off about Dalton Castle. I left off about 20 people, but point, we have a good crew, and so whenever this crazy thing, do you understand where my head's at, Stu? I think
do.
You do. It's just hard to give a rah-rah speech on. I can give a rah-rah speech that we made 18 years and we're going to make more, but this damn thing is just like
it's just in the way. It's in the way. We're going to get it out of the way and then continue on with what is widely regarded as the best wrestling on the planet.
Well, when it's out of the way, we're ready to rock, and let's hope that I'm back on your regular. I'd like to come back on your show when this thing blows over, so we could say, or I'll call you privately. I don't have to come on your show. Remember that podcast we did that set. No, seriously, because this is
absolutely,
this is crazy.
Cary, you are welcome on my show anytime you want. I'll bring on as much as I can. You know that, and I thank you so much for giving me your time today. I think this is kind of part. This is as much therapeutic for you and I as it is for anybody listening, because it's kind of one of those. We're reaching out. We're kind of bonding together as for the love of pro wrestling, and and we will see the other side of this, and we're going to get back to these great shows that are happening with Ring of Honor, and I have every bit of faith in the world that it won't be long before Ring of Honor and every other wrestling company is back to doing what they do best, which is entertaining the fans, wowing fans, and again, Ring of Honor second to none in that endeavor. So,
well, we're going to be back there, and let's close this on a. And I also want to see you back, to your other, your regular gig, where there's some normalcy. But let's close this on a fun note. There was a great tweet put out by Blue Meanie, right? Who happened to be in the Battle Royal. He made his first Ring of Honor appearance only a few weeks ago in Baltimore.
Yes,
in the Battle Royal, and I've known him for years. Anyway, I don't know if you saw the tweet, but the tweet was an aerial view of this Travelodge hotel, which is it's like a circular, weird shaped hotel where all the ECW. That's where the ECW talent would stay. Right. And Blue Meanie tweeted this picture in this hotel, and he said, "If anyone could survive the viruses and the goings on of this place, this coronavirus is going to be nothing."
It's exactly what you expect from Blue Meanie. Blue Meanie's one of the best. That's why he's one of the best.
But he's right, and Foley was joking when I had the dinner with Foley. We were joking. He was joking about that. Oh, the things that went on there. So if we can survive that, let's get to the other side of this, and things will break.
Absolutely. He is Cary Silkin from Ring of Honor Wrestling, Ring of Honor ambassador, former owner. Check out Last Stop Penn Station with him and Ian Riccaboni. Some fantastic stories that you never imagined you'd ever hear. A great podcast. Get it wherever you get your podcast. Cary, I love you. All the best to you, my friend.
Love you too, man. Let's get through this.
We will. Give my best to everybody at Ring of Honor, and we'll talk again soon.
Okay.
I felt, I love Cary to death. He's one of the dearest people on earth. We have become such dear friends so quickly, and I feel for him. I think a lot of us. It's not just wrestling, not just sports. It's people. This is a time that nobody ever fathomed. Nobody, and we don't know how to react. We don't know how to, in our work lives and in going through town. I just went to the grocery store, to HEB, which is just up the street from me, not even 90 seconds from my home, and it's a different world. Seeing empty shelves and a line, and you have to wait to go to, and they're waving you to go to a certain register because they don't want to get everybody clumped together, and it's definitely a new day, and it's not, no pun intended. So we'll see what happens. A couple of quick updates. Because there is no basketball, so we were planning on being podcast only this week, but because of no basketball, no baseball, I think we were going to be preempted because of baseball, but it looks like we will, in fact, be on the horn this week. So tune in Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central, on the horn, 104.9 AM, 1260. And keep tabs with all the shows, whether it's Bucky and Aaron or I think I think they're going to call it Middays with Chad and Trey now. I think they finally picked a name, or the Light the Tire with Craig Ray and Jeff Howe, and then Chad and Trey, and then the afternoon show with Brad Kellner, Kevin Dunn, and Rod Babers. I think all the weeknight shows are going to be going. In fact, Patrick Davis, our friend from Instant Sirius, I think he's going to have me on Monday night to talk about what do we watch now on TV, and in fact, to tell you what, if you're listening to this, tweet at me at Stu Myrick, STEWMYRICK, or at Sports Guys Talking, or tweet Sports Guys at SGTWATX, because I'm supposed to give him recommendations on what to watch. And probably we're going to talk about wrestling pay-per-views, classic wrestling pay-per-views. Now I'm gonna lean heavily on the old world class, Parade of Champions, and maybe some of the early Starcades. But if you have a favorite pay-per-view that is available, whether it's on WWE Network or on YouTube or something like that, let me know. Or New Japan World. If there's a show on New Japan, let me know. Something, whether it's recent, classic, you name it. Tweet at me. Let me know what I should recommend to our friends on Instant Sirius Monday night on the horn. So that's going to do it. I'm going to wrap up here. As I say, we will be back on the air, Justin and I, this Wednesday night on the horn. We'll give you an update on what we know. We'll give you reaction to whatever we see. Like we said, Monday Night Raw is going to be empty in an empty WWE Performance Center there in Orlando. I suspect NXT will be as well. So we'll give you updates on what we know and try to have some fun. Please remember, be safe, wash your hands, keep those hygiene measures, going. Be kind to each other. This is going to be a stressful time for everyone. So take a moment, be kind, be nice. If you can lend a helping hand, lend a helping hand, and we'll get through this. We'll get through this together, come out on the other side, and then enjoy a bunch of great wrestling, because as soon as it's allowed, a lot of wrestling is going to happen, a lot of great wrestling. So yeah, just keep that in mind. But for now, you can follow Justin Smash Simmons on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at The Smash Simmons. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Stu Myrick. That's STEWMYRICK. You can follow the show on Twitter at SGTWATX. You could find us on Facebook and Instagram at Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. We are proud to be the official broadcast partner of the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, and we're proud to be part of the great island you hear every day. On the flagship station for the Texas Longhorns, we are the Horn. Catch us Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Central on the Horn, or you can catch us anytime on demand by going to hornfm.com and click on the On-Air tab, or by subscribing to us on your favorite podcast platform. My thanks to Dave LaGreca from SiriusXM Busted Open and Cary Silkin from Ring of Honor for joining me, and my thanks to you for giving me a little bit of your time. Until next time, I hope I see you at the matches.